Your baby sleeps next to you every single night. But what if everything happening in those quiet hours is far more extraordinary than you ever imagined? A mother once described waking up just before dawn to find her 4-month-old lying completely still, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling with an expression she could only describe as ancient, not frightened, not confused, just watching, aware, as if that tiny body held something far older than 4 months of life. She didn't know what to make of it. She went back to sleep, but she never forgot that moment. And once she learned what was actually happening inside her baby's mind during sleep, it changed the way she saw her child forever. Welcome to Silent Baby Mind. Subscribe right now, because what you're about to learn today will permanently change the way you look at your child. Because here's the question almost no parent ever stops to ask. Why does your baby need to sleep so close to you? Not in the next room, not across the crib. Right next to you, pressed against your warmth, rising and falling with your breath. It feels instinctive, it feels natural. But what is actually happening beneath that soft skin and behind those closed eyes is something neuroscience is only beginning to fully understand. And by the end of this, you will never watch your sleeping baby the same way again. Let's start with the one that changes everything. 1. Think about the last time your baby fell asleep against your chest. Their whole body went soft. That little fist unclenched, their breathing synchronized with yours without either of you trying. You probably thought it was simply comfort. You were right. But comfort doesn't begin to cover what was actually happening at a biological level in that moment. Human infants are born in a state that no other mammal on the planet shares in quite the same way. Neurologically, a newborn human is profoundly unfinished. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for regulating emotion, managing stress, and making sense of the world, will not be fully developed for another 2.5 decades. What this means is that a baby cannot self-regulate. They cannot calm a racing heartbeat on their own. They cannot bring a spiking cortisol level back down by themselves. They are entirely dependent on an external co-regulator to do it for them. That co-regulator is you. Research published in the journal Developmental Psychobiology has shown that when an infant is in close physical contact with their primary caregiver, particularly during sleep, their autonomic nervous system actively syncs to the caregiver's. Heart rate stabilizes, breathing deepens and regularizes. Cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone, measurably drop. This process is called physiological co-regulation, and it is not a side effect of closeness. It is the entire point of it. When your baby sleeps against you, their body is borrowing your calm. Their nervous system is using yours as a template, as a reference point for what safety feels like. You are not just holding a sleeping child. You are, in the most literal biological sense, teaching their body how to be at peace. And here is what makes this remarkable. Your baby is not doing this consciously. They are not choosing it the way an adult chooses comfort. It is hardwired into them at a depth that predates language, predates memory, predates everything we think of as personality or preference. The drive to stay close to you during sleep is one of the oldest survival mechanisms the human species carries. For hundreds of thousands of years, an infant separated from their caregiver at night did not survive. The ones who reached and cried and pressed close were the ones who lived. Your baby carries that inheritance in every cell, but that is only where it begins. Because while your baby sleeps, something else is happening inside that extraordinary brain of theirs, something so sophisticated it continues to astonish researchers who have dedicated their careers to studying it. 2. Have you ever noticed that your baby seems to know, before you have said a single word, when something is wrong? You walk into the room carrying the invisible weight of a hard day. and something shifts. They look at you differently. They reach for you sooner. They settle less easily. And when you finally exhale and let the tension go, they exhale too. This is not coincidence. This is not maternal or paternal projection. This is your baby reading you with a precision that most adults are not capable of. From the very first weeks of life, the human infant brain is running what researchers call a social prediction engine. Babies are constantly collecting data about the emotional state of the people around them, particularly their primary caregivers. They are analyzing facial muscle movements, tracking changes in vocal tone, detecting shifts in the rhythm and quality of touch. Research from the University of Washington's Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences has shown that infant brains respond to emotional cues from caregivers before the conscious mind of the adult is even aware those cues are being expressed. Your baby is reading emotions you don't know you're showing, and during sleep, this process does not fully stop. Studies using EEG monitoring in sleeping infants have found that babies in light sleep phases show measurable neural responses to the emotional tone of voices heard nearby, even when they show no outward sign of being aware. The sleeping baby brain is still sorting emotional information, still cataloging the emotional temperature of the environment, still registering whether the world is safe or threatening based entirely on the signals your presence broadcasts. This is why a baby can fall deeply asleep in your arms and then, within minutes of being transferred to a crib, shift into a lighter, more restless sleep state. It is not that the mattress is wrong or the temperature has changed. It is that the primary data source, the emotional signal that told their nervous system the world was safe, has been removed, and their brain, even in sleep, notices. You are not just a warm body to your sleeping baby. You are information. You are the most important piece of data they have about the nature of reality. 3. There is a behavior so common that most parents never think to question it. And yet when you understand what is actually driving it, it becomes one of the most moving things a small human body can communicate. Watch a sleeping baby closely during the night. Watch their hands. You will notice that even in deep sleep, those tiny fingers will periodically reach. Sometimes they find you and close around your finger or grip a fold of your shirt and still again. Sometimes they reach into empty air, find nothing, and the face tightens almost imperceptibly before relaxing back into sleep. They are checking for you. This behavior, called proximity monitoring, has been documented extensively in infant sleep research and is considered a core feature of the attachment behavioral system first described by psychiatrist John Bowlby. Bowlby's foundational work, later expanded by researcher Mary Ainsworth, established that human infants are born with a biological imperative not just to be near their attachment figure, but to continuously verify that closeness, even during sleep. The hand that reaches out in the dark is not random movement. It is the most ancient question a human being can ask. Are you still there? And every time you are, every time that small hand finds you, something remarkable happens in the infant brain. A circuit completes. A prediction is confirmed. A stress response that was beginning to build quietly dissolves before it can fully form. The baby does not wake. The baby does not cry. Because the answer to the question arrived before the question became urgent. This is what researchers at the University of Notre Dame, studying infant co-sleeping practices across cultures, found. Babies who slept in close proximity to caregivers showed significantly more of these brief self-settling cycles throughout the night. They asked the question, they received the answer, and they went back under. The reach in the dark is your baby saying something they will not have words for years. It is, in the purest possible form, the beginning of trust. 4. Now here is something almost no parenting book will tell you, and it shifts the entire picture. While your baby is sleeping, their brain is not resting. It is working harder than at almost any other moment in the day. The sleeping infant brain is engaged in a process called memory consolidation, a systematic transfer of the day's experiences from short-term holding to long-term storage. Every face your baby studied, every sound they cataloged, every emotional moment they lived through is being processed, filed, and integrated during sleep. The neural connections formed during waking hours are being strengthened, pruned, and organized into the architecture that will become your child's understanding of the world. Research from the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences has shown that this consolidation process in infants is dramatically more intensive than in adults, which directly explains why babies sleep so much. They are not simply tired. They are building a brain in real time, and sleep is when the construction crew does its most critical work. But here's the part that should stop you for a moment. The emotional context in which that consolidation happens matters profoundly. A 2019 study published in the journal Child Development found that infants who experienced higher levels of felt security during sleep, meaning they were close to a caregiver, showed measurably better emotional memory consolidation. The memories filed during safe, close sleep were not just more numerous, they were more emotionally coherent. The experiences were organized around a stable core rather than fragmented by stress. What this means is that the nights your baby spends sleeping close to you are not neutral. They are shaping the actual structure of your child's emotional memory. The sense of safety they feel while sleeping beside you is becoming part of how they will remember the world, part of what they will expect from it, part of the emotional template against which they will measure every relationship that comes after. You are not just keeping them calm. You are writing a foundational story inside their developing brain, a story that says, the world is a place where you are not alone, where the dark is not something to be afraid of, where the people who love you stay close even when you cannot see them. 5. Let's talk about something parents often feel quietly guilty about, and probably shouldn't. Your baby has changed your behavior, systematically, completely, and with a level of effectiveness that would be impressive in any negotiator. Think about it honestly. You rearranged your sleep schedule around them. You adjusted the firmness of your voice at certain hours. You changed the side of the bed you sleep on. You learned to move in the dark without making sound. You developed an entirely new sensitivity to the sound of breathing, one that wakes you from deep sleep at the first change in their rhythm before you were even consciously aware you heard anything. Your baby did that. Developmental researchers have documented that infants engage in what is called contingency learning from the very first weeks of life. They observe what behaviors from them produce what responses from you, and they repeat and refine the behaviors that work. A particular cry brings you faster. A specific kind of stillness keeps you from moving them. A sound made at a certain pitch reliably produces the warmth and closeness they need. This is not manipulation. Let that word go entirely. This is an organism doing what evolution designed it to do, communicating its needs through the only channels available to it, and learning with astonishing speed which channels are most effective. A study from the University of Cambridge found that by 3 months of age, infants already show evidence of sophisticated causal reasoning about caregiver responses. They are not randomly crying into the void. They are making predictions, running tests, updating their understanding of how the world, specifically how you, responds to them. And the fact that they have successfully wired you to respond to signals so subtle you didn't even know you were receiving them, that is not a problem. That is the system working exactly as designed. That is a baby and a caregiver becoming fluent in each other's language. 6. Underneath everything we have covered, underneath the neuroscience and the evolutionary biology and the memory consolidation and the attachment research, there is one truth that holds all of it together. Your baby chooses closeness to you not because they have no other option, but because you are the option their entire nervous system votes for, every single night, without hesitation. A landmark series of studies from researchers at Harvard Medical School and the Boston Children's Hospital has established that the quality of early attachment experienced during infancy, particularly during sleep and vulnerable moments, has measurable long-term effects on stress response systems, emotional regulation capacity, and even immune function in childhood and adolescence. The closeness your baby seeks now is not just about tonight. It is about the architecture of the person they will become. And consider what it means that they seek it at all. Sleep is when we are most exposed, most unguarded. Every living creature on Earth has a sleep strategy built around minimizing vulnerability. Your baby, in the most exposed moments of their existence, turns toward you every single night, without being taught, without being asked. Before they have words, before they have memories they can consciously access, before they have any framework for understanding what love is or what safety means, their body already knows. It already knows you are the answer to whatever the dark is asking. Your baby cannot tell you what they feel when they sleep beside you. They do not have the words. They will not have them for years. But every time they settle against you, every time that small chest rises and falls in rhythm with yours, every time that tiny hand reaches out in the dark and finds you, they are saying it anyway. They are saying it in the oldest language there is. And if you have been there, night after night, without knowing what it meant, now you know. You were never just keeping them warm. You were teaching them that the world is safe, that rest is possible, that love is something that stays even when everything goes quiet. They weren't just sleeping next to you. They were choosing you every single night. If this changed the way you see your baby, share it with a parent who needs to hear it tonight. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it right now, because we go this deep every single week on Silent Baby Mind. Hit the like button if this video stayed with you, and drop a comment below telling us about a moment your baby did something that made you realize how much was happening beneath the surface. We read every single one. See you in the next video.